Everybody, come on in. So much to talk about. Thank you for joining us. And I see you're coming in. That's great. Joe and I, we do this thing every week where we don't usually hold back, Joe. Yeah, I mean, you don't hold back anyway. So, here we are. Before we came on, as you're coming in, Joe and I were talking about this. I don't think we have a partisan problem anymore. I mean, the president and his party, let's see, they're blowing up NATO. They're killing Americans on our streets. They're throwing tear gas canisters into cars with children. They're quashing any investigation into what they do. They're musing about um, uh, augmenting the thugs they've sent in our cities with the U.S. Army by virtue of the Insurrection Act. The president's talking about canceling midterm elections. I could go on, but in what sense is any of this partisan? This isn't about Democrats and Republicans. This is about MAGA versus American democracy.
I'd say, and by the way, Edwin, it's always good to be with you. By the way, everybody who's joining us, thank you. Press those red hearts. Give us some red hearts. That does something. I don't know what. Thank you for joining us this Thursday.
Yeah, and today those red hearts are for Minneapolis and St. Paul. Like, let's just hear it for Minneapolis and St. Paul.
Under
I know you did
siege
this
right
for
now.
Chicago when they were here, but God bless them.
It's Edwin. It's the beauty of Trump. He's so bad and so lawless and so corrupt that he does bad, horrible, corrupt, lawless things in our faces. And because it's right there, we have to decide in real time, oh my God, is this the kind of country we want to be? And that's what's happening in Minneapolis right now.
Yep.
And to your point, I think the broader point you want to make, I'm a new Democrat, 7 months old. No. Fuck. The party's playing catch up. Leading the resistance are grassroots voters
all over the country. Yeah.
And that's going to continue to be the case.
Yeah. I mean, anybody who is waiting for Chuck Schumer to save the democracy is a fool. And I don't mean to be critical of Chuck. But he's not. That's not where the fight is anymore. Like, the Democrats will put up good candidates, and that's all they have to do. The rest of us have to organize. Have to get out the vote, have to do all those things, because, I mean, this is really about whether we'll ever have politics again.
Edwin, you and I are of an age where we grew up, where we had two parties. They had disagreements on issues, but as people say, they both played within the 40-yard lines.
Yep.
Those days are done, right? And now we have one of our two parties, which is full-on authoritarian and full-on anti-democracy and the rule of law.
Yeah, so, and corrupt is all get out.
Yeah, and Chuck Schumer and Democrats of that ilk, they're not used to this. They'll never understand it.
Right, and the good news now is we don't need them to. This isn't there. Look, and anybody who thinks that it's up to a political party, any one of our two political parties, to save American democracy when it's threatened is missing this moment, and is also like ceding their own responsibility as citizens. This isn't about, the Democrats are going to come save us. We got to save ourselves. It's always been that way, and that's where we are.
And the note of hope is that, you and I've said this before, in every special election so far since this bastard was sworn in, Democratic turnout has been through the roof. Right now, resistors, and that's what we all are, we will crawl bare naked across broken glass for miles to vote. That's going to continue no matter what the Democratic Party does or says.
It's exactly right. And friendly amendment to what you just said. You said Democratic turnout was through the roof. I think Americans turn out because they don't see it as a partisan issue. They see it as, I'm defending democracy. I got one choice.
So
there are a lot of Republicans voting for these Democrats.
I did a Substack last night, and I apologized again for being wrong, because after the 2024 election, I went on the TV circuit and I said, Democrats, the days of you just winning by saying Trump is bad, those days are over. And I'm wrong because right now, for the next 10 months, all Democrats have to say is Trump is bad and just point to what he's doing, point to ICE, point to every utterly horrible thing he's doing. And Democrats will take back the House without having to say this is what we are and maybe take back the Senate. That changes in 28. Democrats will have to say who they are in 28. But right now, because Trump is so bad, Edwin,
So dangerous.
so dangerous
So
that
dangerous.
all Democrats have to do once again is say, look at what he's doing.
Democratic candidates. Yeah, and it's really not in
Democratic
our D
candidates.
yeah, and it's not really in our DNA just to do that because we will talk about how we wanna govern and the country we wanna have. But I agree with you. The main message is this ain't it. This is not the
Well,
country we wanna have.
right. And it's like this dilemma we've always been in, Edwin. You and I want to talk about policy and have a debate about policy.
Yep,
But our house is burning down right now. So vote for someone who will put out that fire. That's where we are again this year.
that's right, and that is it and we have to protect those elections from a president who wants to cancel them and says he wants to cancel them and use the US Army to seize the, ballot box. It's just insane.
Can
Hey, I
we
wanna ask you a policy question.
go ahead? Go ahead.
The this is a little insider, guys, but it's worth it. Um, ICE is only funded to January 31st in the current
Mhm.
right? They gotta pass a new CR like, this is an opportunity to put a lot of strings on that or even cut their funding. I mean, I there is no justification for how they're behaving in our cities, none, 0. There
Mhm.
wasn't any in Chicago. It's appalling what crimes they're committing in Minneapolis, but they run out of money at the end of January. Congress has to re-up that money. Now, this is where Democrats do matter. And what's your advice to them here?
So I love the question. And I said it this morning, and I'm going to get to your question.
Yep.
If I were a Democratic governor right now of a state in which ICE, these thugs are out on the streets brutalizing my constituents,
Mhm.
I would call up the National Guard immediately.
Okay, I'll talk about that too with you. I'm
Okay, that's
interested.
number one.
Yep,
If I were back in Congress right now,
yep.
there is no fucking way I fund one dime of this government until those masked thugs are off the streets. End
Yeah,
of story.
end of story. Right. Now we
Now,
have to be smart
Edwin,
about
they
that
won't do that. They won't do
because
that.
shutting down government, that doesn't stop them because they'll be declared essential and they'll have to work whether they get paid or not. So we have to actually pass a funding bill that cuts their funding. I can't do this by shutting down the
And
government.
and I don't think the Democrats in Congress will have the stomach to do either. I'm hearing, and Edwin, we ought to get into this. This is interesting. I'm hearing Cory Booker and so many other Democrats talk about how we need to reform ICE. Americans don't know the history of ICE. They haven't been around that long.
Yep,
I'm no radical, and this is not defund the police. I think ICE needs to be abolished. I don't think
I
this
do too. It's been even if it was
organization
good over for a while, they've recruited into it such poison, it needs to be we need a different solution, right? I mean, that
completely.
may be true for Department of Homeland Security all the way through. I don't know.
Completely,
Yeah,
completely, Edwin. And again, this is not like defund the police is a stupid thing to say because law enforcement is a state and local enterprise.
by the way, and a
The
lot better trained than these guys.
yeah. Abolishing ICE politically is not like saying defund the police.
Yeah,
We've only had ICE around for 20 some years. They have completely exceeded and abused their mission, which at the beginning was problematic to begin with. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But,
Okay,
but,
so
but Edwin, Democrats will not do what you and I just
well,
said.
hang on, because as you know, I locate Democrats somewhere other than DC. So for those of you who are listening, who are, willing to pretend to be Democrats for a while, and please do, call the representatives. Call every representative you have
Yeah.
and tell them not one penny for these ICE thugs. Not one. Not one. And you know what, Joe? If we put enough pressure on them, you'd be surprised what they'll do.
I would be surprised.
It's
I
not,
would.
look, it's your old party that's immune to public pressure because they don't actually get elected that way. They get elected by the money and the map makers.
Well, and but by the way, and that again, that's what my new party is up against because you're right. My former party is not held back by anything right now.
Yeah.
Donald Trump is unchained. How do you fight that? You can say kumbaya, let's hold hands and no king's marches till the cows come home, but eventually you have to do more than just that.
Well, right. So let's defund ICE. Now, I want to talk to you about the perils of calling out a National Guard. Because if
Mhm.
you do call out a National Guard, you are setting up a shooting fight. You
Mhm.
really are. And that, then it's easier to do the Insurrection Act. And there is, and by the way, the president can nationalize the National Guard. And so you got some,
Though, you're right. Though the courts have already ruled on that against him, and I wouldn't mind forcing that court ruling again. But
yeah,
continue.
but none of these National Guards, if we're, I mean, I don't want a shooting war. And I certainly don't want the Insurrection Act and the US military responding to state National Guards. I mean, that's an escalation that I really hope we don't get to.
So, and I love you. You're my brother. Uh, but Democrats have to look, Edwin. We know what Trump's plan is. Everybody knows it. Incite violence and unrest, then invoke the Insurrection Act,
Yep.
then declare martial law, then suspend the midterms. That's his plan. Okay. Democrats have to try to peacefully overwhelm that plan.
Correct.
But Edwin, I would also say Democrats need to be prepared to walk up to that line and to fight fire with fire because the other side would go over that line. And the other side, I've told you this before, my political party has never believed Democrats will fight to the death to win something.
Well,
And
I hear you. I do. Um, Here's what I'm seeing. People, Democrats and others, have proven that they are willing, not eager, but willing to die for this. They are willing to stand up and go out there. And ICE says, you will not be warned again. Do you know what happened to the last person who did this? And they still show up and they're still getting shot at. I mean, right? And they're going to do it, and they're going to do it, and they're going to do it, and I'm going to do it, and then you're going to do it. And we're not doing it with rifles, but we are showing up, and we are showing up when they say we'll shoot you if you show up. We still show up.
I think this is a great conversation, Edwin. I think it would be so refreshing for America to see. I'm so disappointed in Tim Walz. For America to see a Democratic governor take that step and say, no, I'm the governor of this state. My constituents and residents are being abused and denied due process on my streets. I am going to call up my National Guard to simply protect Minnesotans.
Well, there's precedent.
I
I
think
mean,
it would be
yeah,
amazing for America to see that.
I think it's entirely dangerous, and I hated it when Greg Abbott did it when Biden was president and said the US has no business being near a crossing of the Rio Grande. My National Guard is going to be standing here, and we will not let the US in here. I thought it was appalling then. But you're saying we should do the same thing, and maybe politically you're right.
Republican governors will take that step.
They did. Abbott did.
They did. Democratic governors, this is, you and I have talked about it. What's happening with ICE right now, Edwin, this is literally fascism being played out.
I agree.
If you can't exercise all your powers as a governor to try to
Protect your
lawfully
citizens.
protect, then what are you there for?
Yeah.
I'm done. I'm done talking. I'm done with Tim Walz going on TV and saying this is bad. We might quit with the talking. Do something. That's all. I'm not afraid of getting to that confrontation because I believe America needs to get there.
Well, I don't want to get to the Insurrection Act and American troops. they're pretty amazing, our troops, and I'd hate
But
to see them fight against us.
but play that out, and maybe you know this more than I do. Trump invokes the Insurrection Act, which he has no cause to invoke. Immediately, that'll get taken to the courts, and that will get dealt with almost immediately because that's a real big deal. That'll play out in the legal system in the courts immediately.
How much faith do you have in the Supreme Court that believes in it? I mean, look, well, part of the reason we're in this problem, Joe, is that your former party and the
Yeah.
Supreme, with their unitary executive stuff, said the entire executive branch is Donald Trump, period. So that one man now has all that power. And then the Supreme Court said, you're immune from prosecution. And Donald Trump said, with all that power, I'm going to use the pardon power to say everybody who commits a crime on my behalf is also immune. So the Supreme Court has basically granted immunity now to every criminal who is fighting for Donald Trump.
And oh, by the way, Donald Trump and Stephen Miller have granted immunity to every masked thug out
That's
there on the
right.
streets.
That's exactly.
I hear you.
I think they should that shooter in Minnesota should have been arrested by the police, put in jail
On the spot. On the
on the
spot.
spot, not let walk off and pretend he was hit by a car, but arrested and put in jail, and then we could have said, you know what, you're being tried for murder. We'll worry about it that way.
The lower courts have done a really decent job catching up and ruling against what he's doing.
Yes.
I agree with you about the Supreme Court. And maybe I'm naive, Edwin, but I do think in certain areas the Supreme Court is not going to give on this guy. When it comes to 14th Amendment, when it comes to birthright citizenship, not going to rule with Trump. I think when it comes to tariffs, not going to rule with Trump.
I agree with you. But where they always rule with Trump is in executive power. I think they're not willing to say, they're not willing to pretend there is no Constitution. They are willing to say he has unlimited executive power, but they're not willing to say he has more than that. And that's so the tariff issue, if they would have to say, well, he has Congress's power too. And I think they'll draw the line there. And the 14th Amendment is just so clear. I mean, there's no possible reading around that language. And there's plenty of case law about it.
You are a more decent person than I am. I was going to give you another compliment. I guess what I'm saying is our democracy and the rule of law are teetering right now. One side, the side that would attack democracy and the rule of law, is fully prepared to do whatever they have to do. If the other side is not prepared to do everything they have to do to defend democracy and the rule of law, and I know it's a scary proposition, then I don't know what.
No, I want to be prepared to do absolutely everything. But that doesn't mean I think everything that we could do is strategically the right thing to do. So it's worth talking about. And, fighting fire with fire, literally having a civil war is not a battle I want to start. I don't want to be the one who fires on Fort Sumter. But if they bring it, as Lincoln said, we'll take it. If they bring the war, if the war comes, it comes, and we'll have it out. But they're going to be the ones who fire.
Right. In the context
As we were
here,
last time.
the context here, Edwin, is, and I'm tired of anybody in my party, my new party, who doesn't believe that Trump is capable of trying to screw with or suspend the midterms. I mean, if you don't understand that yet, you're helpless. That's the overall context here.
Rudy, he will.
He will try, and we know he's going to mess with them. He will try to suspend them because on an equal playing field, Edwin, this is going to be a blue tsunami. Again,
a
slaughter. And he knows that. They know that.
Joe, I mean, is it possible that he's also he's so drunk on power that they're not going to pay attention like they should. They're going to make mistakes. I mean, he is thinking, I'm the emperor of the Americas. I'm busy trying to market
Mhm.
oil that I took from Venezuela. I am going to destroy NATO and conquer a piece of a NATO country and do all of that at the same time. Is it? I mean, the world has a way of, maybe I'm going to attack Iran. Oh wait, I can't attack Iran because my aircraft carriers are in the Caribbean. Let's move some away from China. Oh wait, what about Taiwan? I mean, he's fucking things up so terribly all over the world that just maybe, they're stretched a little too thin.
Agreed. But again, I think that Trump believes, look, he tried to overthrow an American election. He was never held accountable for that. In fact, we put him back in power. I think the minute we did that, Donald Trump said, fuck
I
it.
could do
I
whatever I
can do
want.
whatever I want. And for the past year, that's what he's been doing. And in his defense, he was taught and trained to believe that by
I
Republicans. And so
he
that's
was
where he is right now. He literally believes, you said drunk on power, there's a lot of that. He can do whatever. Edwin, he invaded a sovereign nation to steal their oil. And what, like that happened like 2 weeks ago? We don't even talk about it anymore.
Yes, he signed a law that said, I'm going to give all the Epstein files over. He signed the law. He's not doing that. No, he is who he is. I don't care who he is anymore. I care who we are because he is a known quantity. He wants to rule forever. He wants to get rid of any of our freedoms that he doesn't personally grant. He doesn't believe that any freedom comes from anything other than his will, right? Um, but that's not America. So are we? Are we going to be Americans and stand up?
Yes. And you and I have to be responsible and lead with everyone who's listening to us. We know what Trump's plan is. We have to peacefully overwhelm that plan. That's not the end of my sentence, but we have to be prepared to do whatever we have to do to defend democracy and the rule of law. I'm keeping that vague purposely.
You know what? And I agree with that. I
Okay.
absolutely agree with that. By the way, and it starts with because there's a limit to what Democrats can do. This is not only a Democrat fight, but what they can do and what we all have to push them to do is make sure not a penny goes to ICE. Right?
Well,
Right
that's
now,
Edwin.
small
That's something
liberty.
they can do.
They can do
They
it.
can, yeah.
They can.
They can do that. And any Democratic governor with ICE in their state has the power to call up the National Guard. There are things Democrats can do.
Well, we should do them. I mean, we need to be um, forceful in protecting our people. We need to be forceful in making sure. I mean, look, the laws that got passed that allow, uh, uh, I mean, we made a hash of immigration for ages. We just did, and
Well, yeah.
we did, and missed opportunity after opportunity in Congress to pass laws that would uh, clean it up. And but the cleanup that is required is not what's on offer by this asshole. And his idea that he is going to somehow strip citizenship from 50 million people so that he can get rid of 50 million people. That's like the biggest. I don't know what that is. That's
You know what it is, Edwin? Because I hear this from them every day. That's the most powerful animating force in my former party. White Christian nationalism. Trump's an idiot. Trump's not aware of any of this stuff. The people around Trump, Stephen Miller, JD Vance, and others, they are part of this. It's no longer a wing of my former party.
it is
My
the
pa- my party is driven by the thought that the belief that this should be a white Christian country again. We have the opportunity to make it so. And for those of you listening to me who don't believe me, this is what they tell me every day.
Yeah, well, they murdered a white Christian on the streets of Minnesota, and around her, and in that protest, were plenty of white Christian ministers who are saying, "You know what? You don't read the Bible the way we do. We read it as love your neighbor. We read it as do unto others as you would have to do unto you. And if this strand that is the new strand of Christianity on the right thinks, no, that's not what it says. It says Donald Trump was given to us by God in order to lead a crusade. You know what? The crusades didn't work out so well for Christianity either. I mean, seriously? and they certainly didn't work out well for Jews. Let me just be
No, exactly.
yeah,
Edwin, I know we've talked about this, and I think generally, maybe you agree with me. Democrats, my new party, dropped the ball on immigration. Joe Biden, Kamala, the first 3 years, man, they were
I agree.
flooding in, and that issue to a large degree got Trump elected. Trump has taken that issue to an ugly, dark, cruel, extreme, un-American place. The pendulum has swung so far to the right now that, again, on an equal, fair playing field, there's going to be a backlash against what Trump is doing.
Yeah. By the way, he got elected on that, and he got elected on remember he had that press conference with the rotting meat? He said, "I'm gonna lower the
Yeah,
price of groceries." And I was in the grocery store again today, again. The price of groceries is not down, it's up, and, his economic I mean, look, there is not a thing he can be proud of having accomplished. I mean, he's, like, wrecked our alliances, wrecked our beautiful economy that he inherited, he's set Americans against each other. I mean, like, what the I mean, I guess he's made some of his friends very rich. That I guess
yeah.
he's done. And he certainly I mean, he made his son a big defense contractor, you know, like
He, he's, which goes back to why I think he's just an idiot. He's drunk on power. All he cares about is himself. But you're right. He's been an utter disaster, Edwin, which will give Democrats the House.
I agree. I agree.
Period. Maybe the Senate, though. That's a real tough
That's a real
stretch.
tough stretch. But, I mean, maybe we can get some of these Republican senators that he is now hates to caucus with Democrats for a while at least. I think it's hard, but some of them I mean, Susan Collins isn't gonna run again probably. She could just, caucus with the Democrats for 10 minutes.
Tell me if you agree with me. I don't believe that if this guy sends troops into Greenland to try to take over Greenland, I don't think my former Republican colleagues will do much or say much. Do you disagree?
Not enough to break a filibuster for sure.
Okay.
They'll figure out who needs to say something, what 3 can say something, you know? No, they
Yeah.
won't. They are all in with this fascist. And that is just disgraceful, but that's where they are, as you've said that. Hey,
Yeah.
I have a framing, I wonder how you think about this.
Huh.
I wanna tell people, you know what? 14 million people are about to lose their health care. Why? Because Donald Trump wanted the money to pay for more ICE agents, you know?
Oh, oh my God, Edwin. And again, that goes to your keeping the government open at the end of this month argument. It is. I'm going to botch the language. ICE now is the largest domestically funded law agency in the history of this country.
It's bigger than most of the military in most other countries in the world now.
They don't have. They're hiring people at a clip like this is. You're right, and all the money in that big beautiful bad bill that went to ICE.
But the thing
Um,
about that, remember, for everybody who's listening, the big bill, they put a lot of money into ICE, but that's not how appropriations actually work,
no,
right?
no.
So they're out of money at the end of January, and do not let them have any more. There should not be a single Democrat who votes to give them a penny, not a penny. And right now, like, we have to look, like, bring the heat. I mean, Donald Trump is the villain here, but make every Democrat as well as every Republican in that house feel the anger and tell them this is not okay. They do not get to come into our cities. And I mean, today they tear gassed a car full of kids. The kids are all in the hospital. I mean, this is completely out of control.
But the good thing, it's 86%. Yesterday, I saw the poll.
Yep.
86% of the American people have seen the ICE videos. That's like unprecedented.
Yeah.
These videos have seeped through to almost every American.
Yeah,
And,
nobody thinks this is okay. Nobody thinks this is okay,
well,
except
let me
for
correct you.
people in the
Except for
government who are pushing it.
and except for his base, because they bombard me, Edwin, every day, and his base
I agree.
generally loves what ICE is
Yeah,
doing.
his base is getting even more radical, but it's
Mhm.
also getting a little smaller. It's getting harder and smaller. Those numbers are going down, but they will go they'll pull the trigger for them for sure. And we need to make sure there are consequences this time. I mean, Ashley Babbitt, who died trying to destroy American democracy, is
Mhm.
not a martyr, right? And these guys want to make her a martyr. And Renee Good, who was murdered just sitting in her car at a protest, whose last words were, "I'm not mad at you." They're trying to make her a villain. The shame is un. You can't get out of it. Anybody who's on that defends that is painted forever with this
And our
stuff.
jobs, your job, my job, everybody who's listening to us, is to spend the next 10 to 11 months putting this word out, put the videos out
Yep.
once a week, show everybody you know what's going on, keep
Yeah.
people informed.
Do it. But today, reach out to the Congress and tell them not a
Yes,
penny for ICE. Joe,
that,
as always,
that's a perfect thing. That's the best way to say it.
yep,
Call your member, not a penny for ICE.
not a
That's
penny
right.
for us.
Thank you, my friend.
Thank you. Good to see you. Bye.